Yeah, man, it's the 13th of August 2024, and this will be an update video about my gang stalking issues. I made a couple of posts earlier this evening about the just nasty broadcast torture. It's not something I enjoy talking about, but I mean, how ridiculous is it to have to talk about something like that? To really, I mean, you have to come to a point with yourself where you decide that you don't care about credibility or anything else. Like, it just becomes a thing of documentation. Like, I know at some point in the future that all of this will come to the light, because anything that's some secret technology that's used against people, it eventually comes out always. And so I have this extensive documentation of it on this YouTube channel and everywhere else that I've been posting and documenting. I mean, I got paperwork, files, and memory cards and hard drives and old devices. So it's very extensively documented. And within my videos and telling my story, I've told you a lot of people, like directly, like full names of people who are involved that have neural monitoring, and I'll stand by every bit of it. It was always the truth, and it's still the truth. And even now, the same couple of people from the same group are accessing my neural monitoring on a daily basis. Today, I've been able to positively identify the same four personalities of the same four people that have been on my neural monitoring for as the main characters, doing their live streams, doing their episodes of daily gang stalking. Kevin, 8 years, that, a total of more like 11 years that I've known about, and about 9 years probably that they were like the full to 8 years that they were the full-time people. These four guys, and they're all part of a particular section of the overall larger group. And the guys that are on my channel are part of the Matheny section of this overall group, which I'm not going to go into all of the people, but I've talked about it so much over the years. And so what's happening today is not so typical. The typical thing lately is attacking my genitals and my left knee, my right foot. It's like a combination of different things to equal up to something. Like they want me to be disabled or something like that, they want to take away like my mobility or something like that. I think they want me to be some kind of fat, obsessed loser that never gets up and goes anywhere or takes showers like them. Maybe that's what they want. Maybe they're just fuming with jealousy. It really seems that way a lot of the time. I was really gonna just go to sleep. And I talked about this in a little post I said earlier. I just want to go to sleep because it makes you want to just curl up in a defensive position and go to sleep. But they did finally take their broadcast off of my skull, and they like penetrate into areas of my skull, and it starts feeling like my eyes are going to pop out of my head, and like all through here and like up in here, and it feels like they're all in my brain stem. And it's the most miserable, horrible thing. And while they're doing it, they tend to want to make like these ridiculous horror screams and talk trash and try to do like sinister sounding voice settings and stuff. And it's like, it's the same show. It's the same routine that they've been doing for all these years. And they're still entertained by doing the same thing. And there's no way that they have very much of a following anymore. My life's very boring. I don't do anything but work and try to have more success and build up to whatever it is that I'm building towards. I'm not even sure what I'm building towards, but the main thing that is like my biggest goal is to build myself to a position that I can destroy them legally, socially, in every kind of way, and solidify this horror scene that's been my life for the past decade. And they are completely obsessed still. There's the one main guy who's always like you would call him like a narrator or something, like who always has something to say. And the communications has become almost zero. Like I don't really acknowledge them anymore, but they still have their little comments and they still say their little things and they still try to inject themselves in my every moment and become part of my existence all the time. They want to become relevant throughout my day, always, and it gets less and less. And I used to interact with them a lot, like all day, every day, and I found myself sometimes even falling into their storylines, and that's what they want, because they're putting on this show, this remote neural monitoring show, while they're on broadcast. So they got their broadcast and they're doing a show. And when I say their broadcast, well, like a hologram broadcast, like a figment, like a thing, actual broadcast, like a hologram broadcast, literally. That's what I'm talking about. And then they live stream that, okay, you're the target person, they're on your neural monitoring and they're all around you and they can get on your body and do whatever they want to do and harm you in very horrible, painful, mutilative type of ways. And then they do these live streams and they put it out on the internet or on neural monitoring sites, and on they actually will put it out on like social media, but it's like a social media that they've made like a customized application of something like Facebook, and then they host that version on their own servers. And then if you're not somebody that's one of them, you wouldn't have access to it unless you somehow stumble upon it, which I have before stumbled upon those kind of things where that's how I know they do it. That's how I know they do it. Mainly, Facebook is like the biggest place that I know of for sure that they're doing neural monitoring live streams. And I know that they're making custom applications using the developer side of Facebook and hosting it themselves. And so it's not always online, and they can have it to where only their people can find it, or only it would have to be up at a certain time, and you would have to have your system configured in a certain way to even be able to access something like that. So the learning process is important. One of the big reasons that I decided to get up, I laid down in the bed, okay, and I turned on my iPad, all right, and it's new. It's not old, it's new, and I've had it since the day I bought it, which was very recently, and I just turned it on. Actually, I got it out of my bag and opened it, and I know it was off because when I left where I was earlier, I turned off all of my devices, just like I said I was going to in the post I made. I said I'm going to turn off all my devices because at the very least, I don't want to give them a service to be able to have that platform, like my cellular service over my phone, probably on some kind of application that I've got, if it's not some modified application that they've modified, or either a virtual device that's hosted on one of my machines. Okay, so, and I'm gonna make this thing that is very important. I'm gonna make it the thumbnail for this video, because I opened the iPad and it was already on. Okay, meaning while I put it in my bag, they turned it on remotely. After I turned it off, put it in my bag, they turned it on from 2,000 miles away. Okay, so they could continue with their live streams. And then when I turned it on, it gave me this weird message about my screen's not recognized and it must be some aftermarket screen, and that I won't be getting notifications when my camera's being used, something like that. And like I said, I bought it brand new from Apple, okay? And I know it's not a generic screen, and I've only had it a month or two, and it's been in my possession every day since then. I know it's not a generic screen, it's brand new. But that's something that they've done. Okay, where they're trying to use the camera. They probably have like a virtual machine that they've already injected into my system, and nothing seems to stop them. And when they want to, and the four of them were on a day, right? So it was like a full on, doing the transsexual sounding girl screams and the voice settings, and then one of them would do like the sinister whisper where, yeah, like trying to act like he's some kind of demon I'm supposed to be terrified of. And this is all so like 2016 to me, because that's the kind of thing they were doing way back then. And I was, oh yeah, sure, I was amazed by these things that they were able to do, 8 or 9 years ago. But now, like, it's been played out for 7 or 8 years, and I've not even been. They haven't even been relevant to me, other than when they're not relevant. Okay, the more they're not relevant to you. Okay, people say ignore them, just ignore them, and the more that you ignore them and they are not relevant, the more that they will torture you with broadcasts and hurt you physically bad to make sure that you acknowledge them, so you can become part of their live stream narrative, the whatever the storyline is that they're trying to put out as their show about your life and them targeting you. And if you're not playing along, then they're going to force you to acknowledge them and to recognize that they're doing something and they're there, and you need to pay attention to them. They're begging for your attention, and the way that they'll do that, if you're ignoring them or not paying attention to them, is torture you worse and worse and worse. And and when the group of them all get together, because I would say it's full time, 4 guys, but honestly, maybe the last year or so, it is still the same 4 guys, but they're kind of like not all there all the time. Like they always were always there, all 4 of them always there. And maybe the last year or so, when it's just been so over. You probably noticed, like, I don't even talk about it that much as I used to. And don't worry, because a lot of people say, please don't quit making videos. I love to have someone to relate to. Your videos, I'm not going anywhere. I know the videos help people understand it. And I know that I remember how it was for me when it first started. And I know how important it is to stumble on some information that helps you understand like the process. And when you find these videos, I already know that you're like, oh my God, he's talking about exactly what my gang stalkers are doing. And I quit trying to convince people way back, maybe like 2017 to 18, probably 18 for sure, when I completely quit trying to, because it was like 13, I'm hacked, everything's hacked. 14, weird stuff is happening. 15 is starting to be like remote neural monitoring, broadcast, artificial telepathy. The torture had already started in like 13. I just didn't even know what it was at the time. I didn't know that there was somebody with controlling a broadcast and physically attacking my body with broadcast waves, that they were controlling, like virtual, like neurologically controlling, living as a broadcast and literally like jumping on you. That was one of the things that the guy, Black James is what they call him, and his real name is James, and he's a gang stalker, and he's very close to the girl that has my neural monitoring, or had it for the longest time. Another irrelevant person to me. I wouldn't know if that person was even still alive, or if they were still a drug addict, or still unemployed, or still hanging out with the trashiest people in town. I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know for many, many years, because these people become irrelevant to me, and I wouldn't care anything about them. Anyway, this guy James was very close to the circle of people, and he was the main gang stalker on my channel for the first few years, couple years, like the first year and a half or something. I don't know. I don't even know where I'm going with this. I forget what the point I'm trying to make to you. But anyway, I'm sorry. I'm just jet lag and gang stalked all day, and trying to just get all of these thought processes out there. But The main thing that's concerning me right now is that they're already got virtual machines on my new iPad. They're all acting crazy, and the torture is becoming a big thing again today, and it's very frustrating. So that's my update for now. I'm gonna come back on and talk about some more things, probably more this week, and there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to talk about because these idiots aren't stopping, and it's happening to more and more people. And there's no need for us to be quiet. There really isn't. It needs to be out in the open, and it needs to be talked about. And if 100,000 people are talking about it, that's kind of validating, okay, not just to each other, but to public in general. That because it's neural monitoring, so it's not like if it's on your channel, okay, it's on your frequency, then whoever you're trying to convince, do you hear this? You're doing your recordings, and do you hear that? No, they don't. They just think you're crazy, and you're trying to convince your family about something that you don't quite understand yourself yet, okay? And if you have for example, a cellular phone, and somebody calls it, I don't hear it on my phone because they're not the same channel. They're the different frequency. And every human also has a different frequency. So don't expect people that aren't on your neurological frequency to be able to hear it. And you're the only one that will be able to hear your broadcast. And these gang stalkers are on your channel. Okay, they've got neural monitoring. They control theirs, okay, and they've went onto yours and created a setting to allow them to connect to you in that way. That's how somebody can just come on and say whatever they want to, and then they can be gone. And the ones that just stay, and it's probably like the person who's owns it has control of the account that's based on your neurological frequency, which is neural monitoring. Remotely, if somebody else has it, remote neural monitoring, okay? And or they're like the administrator that's somebody has put in that position to allow them to. Don't get caught up with gang stalkers that love the way you think and have become obsessed with your mind and your life, because you cannot get rid of them. It's the worst infestation that you could imagine, and their obsession is unmatched by anything I've ever seen in life. It really is. Anyway, you guys have a good night. I expect a lot more because we got a lot of stuff to talk about, really. Thanks for watching.